All right, today we're talking about Olympos. Now this is now be careful. There's a game out there now called Olympus with a U instead of an O, and then I believe there's a Temples of Olympus. They all came out this year.
Wow.
It's crazy. This is Olympos. Now this is the one that I was interested in playing, mostly because it's designed by Felipe K. who did Small World, and both of us love Small World. Fantastic game. So is this game like Small World? Let's look. Remember, this will not be a comprehensive overview of the game. Here you have a map of the board that players are going to be going after. And one of the things about this map that players will be doing, and you see on the outside there's a track, but this is not a scoring track. Instead, players will take one of their tokens and place them here on this track. This is more of a time track. Now the way this works is, let's say it's Red's turn, and Red does an action that costs 4 action points, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it's Blue's turn, and Blue does something that costs 2. Then Green does something that costs 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's Gray's turn, it does something that costs 2, 1, 2. Now the guy in the now it's Blue's turn. Blue's technically in last place, so Blue can go again. And let's say he does something that costs this much, and then Red, and then Gray is in last place, so he can keep going until he catches up. And so it's kind of a catch-up mechanic. You can do something that costs a lot of action points over the course of the game, but then you might have to wait a while before it's your turn again. Now, what are you using these action points on? There's really only two things. One is putting new units on taking armies that you have in front of you. You start with some armies, and you'll get more from a general supply. Different abilities will get you more. But you put an army on the board, and you can move it through different places. It costs 1 to go through land and 2 to go through water. So let's say I want to conquer this territory. I put them down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I pay 6 action points. I've conquered that territory. If I wanted to go 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to conquer that territory. When you conquer a territory, the territories will start with a resource token of the type in that territory. You'll take that and place that in front of yourself. You can conquer a territory from someone else, and it will cost action points, depending on how much more powerful you are than your opponent. You will have different sword icons, and if you have more sword icons, it costs fewer action points. If you have less, you can still conquer, but it will cost you more action points. And so you're getting these resources, and then another thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be buying from this technology tree over here. It's random, kind of, sort of. It's semi-random, and you see here at the top that this requires 1 brown resource and 1 white resource. If you have those 2 resources, you're fine. You can take that tile. You can also, during the course of the game, get cubes that you can use to pay for resources, but these are one-time shots. You pay for them, and they're gone. While if I have the resources that I need in front of me, I can spend those to buy the tile, and I don't have to get rid of them. I can keep using them. And so if I have the resources in front of me or whatever, I'll take the tile that I want, as long as I have the resources to pay for it. I will place one of my discs underneath it to show that I have paid for that resource, and then it will give me some bonuses. Like this one gives me 2 time chips. Time chips can be gotten at several points during the game, and you can spend them instead of, actually moving your token. It saves you time. And it gives me a yellow resource cube. But it also gives me the tile. For example, this one here lets me move for 1 when I'm going through water rather than 2. And a lot of these tiles give different special abilities. I've already mentioned the sword. Some give points at the end of the game, especially these bottom monuments. They're very difficult to get. Monuments can only be gotten if you have a certain amount of stars. Some resources provide these stars. Also, if your token happens to be in a spot in the same column as the monument, then you get that monument. Now, one thing I should have mentioned here is when you put this token on a spot, that's the benefit you get. And some of these have multiple benefits, and you have to choose between them. Sometimes they give you more armies that you'll be able to take out. But if anything else, putting it in that column means hopefully later on you'll be able to buy that wonder of the world for a cheaper price. And so you're buying these, which will give you advantages in the game, or give you advantages in buying more of them, and moving around the time track. But there's also a few other things involved. when you pass certain spots on this time track, you will get a destiny card. Sometimes this card will just give you a cube. Sometimes it will give you something else that you can do. Like this one here gives you a time token for each one of these resources that you have. And also, then the gods will show up at certain points. When the first person passes one, a god will show up, and sometimes with the last person. And these gods will cause all kinds of mayhem, sometimes good things, sometimes negative things, depending on, what the card is. It's completely random, and you're never sure when they're going to show up. But you know when they're going to show up when the first and last person goes by these points. After everyone has finished, when you pass this last point here on the track, you will get points. Now notice you can go all the way up here on your action points, but the sooner you stop, the more points you're going to get. You also will get points. Each tile over here is worth 2 points, and then some of these other tiles are worth bonus points. You can see the 8 and the 12 points there. Some give you points like that. Territories on the board give you points, and you add up all your points, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Okay, it's not like Small World.
Not at all.
Now, it's an interesting... Here's the deal. I think it's an interesting game. The idea of moving across, using points, and paying resources to conquer people and move around and conquer areas, that's neat. Buying the technologies is neat. Although I'll tell you, for your first game, you're going to sit there and look at that board and be totally confused as to what does what. You're constantly looking up that. My problem with the game is it felt mechanical. I never felt like I was conquering Greece and fighting off gods, and the technologies didn't feel like technologies. They felt like a tile I bought that did something. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Right, yeah. Sometimes theme can really transport you into the realm, into the theme. And the theme on this one didn't do that. Now, I don't know for sure if it's the mechanics of the game that kept it from doing that, or if it was just a kind of a weak theme to begin with. I don't know. The theme didn't really didn't pull you in like I think a theme should. But, I mean, that's that. Going back to the whole the tile board layout thing, we've talked about iconography on other things before, and this is where iconography makes this have a large learning curve, like most iconography games or games that have iconography in it. But it's really bad with this game because most of the time we didn't really know exactly what these things did until we actually bought them and used them, and then by then either great, I've got something good, or wow, I shouldn't have bought that.
Not to mention some of the resource chips and then the color cubes. We were like, which cube matches which chip sometimes, or we were looking for a resource on the board and it would get kind of lost in the shuffle of all the art.
Yeah.
Also, they should have put something in the rule book that said, it's really important to have those Zeus symbols.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, you might need them, you might not. And then Sam, I think, was it you?
Yeah.
You got slammed.
Yeah, kept on getting slammed by the Zeus event cards because I didn't have any Zeus tokens. But, okay, whatever.
As a quick minor thing, or maybe not minor, it depends on you. This is not a G-rated game, and artwork-wise, for the most part, the game itself, there's no problem at all. But for the cards, the gods and goddesses, there's quite a bit of at least half nudity.
Yeah.
Involved in that. So just be warned that is in the game.
Yeah, it's not family friendly out of the box. You may want to take your favorite editing
but what we found was, and we because we had Sam's son in our game, was that we just said, hey, here's the card, this is what it does, and chuck the card and keep going.
Yeah, and tuck it underneath the board. That's what we actually did. So
the game is very interactive. You can really nail someone else, steal their resources. There's spots on the board that are much more useful than others, and you'll be taking those from other people. But I never felt like it was too...
Yeah. No, it's not too cutthroatish. It's not to go after your other person. You can definitely kind of stick to yourself and be a contender for the winner, but it helps to take away some of that good stuff that your opponents are getting.
So my final thing on this is I think it's mechanically sound. It works. It's just that the theme didn't draw me in, and if all I'm left with is a pile of mechanics, then I'm not going to want to play it after 3 or 4 times, and that's not enough for me to keep a game. So I'm going to give it 1 thumb up, but 1 thumb down too.
Yeah.
Heavenly thumbs.
Heavenly. Well, I do want to say one thing. We've kind of mentioned the art and how it's not family friendly, but except for those cards, the art is actually really good. The board is beautiful, although it is kind of busy in some places. The components are all really good, but like you said, I think it's mechanics heavy and not enough theme to balance that out. The theme is well pasted on, but it is just that. It's a pasted on theme. And so with that, I have to give it half of Zeus's something up. Thumb, or maybe his big toe.
Oh, okay.
One big. What did you? Wow.
No, I didn't know what you said.
Okay, one big Zeus's toe up.
Now this review is not family friendly.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so what a lackluster recommendation we've given. Get it, I guess.
Maybe.